So, um, that's my introduction. I do want to say thank you all for joining us today. We're so glad you're here. And Marie Oberkirsch is going to be our tour guide at Central Print today because we are in St. Louis on our Hamilton Hang. And specifically in the Old North neighborhood. I've had the pleasure of visiting you guys there, and it's a wonderful shop. I'm so glad you're going to give us a tour. If you haven't met Marie, she is wonderful. She's a maker, a collector, a teacher. She has an extensive background in nonprofit arts and events management. And when things happen at Central Print, they go smooth. So I'm so glad you're going to show us around. Yeah, thank you. So I'll hand it over. Thank you, Marie, for joining us.
I'm thrilled. Thank you for having me. I hope things go smoothly. I have a real smooth cart, so hopefully it won't be too bumpy. But I've got my iPad launched on an easel here, and I can angle it a bit and have fun with y'all. So I'll try to put things in front of the camera instead of moving the camera around too much. So a little bit about myself. I'm a textile designer. My background's in textile design. I went to Cranbrook, which was a dream. And I came back to St. Louis and did some nonprofit management at Wellmeyer Sculpture Park. And I enjoyed it very much. Big events, big outdoor events. But after a number of years, I was ready for something different and a little more challenging. So at that time, Eric Woods and I came up here to Old North and founded Central Print. That was in 2014. And the neighborhood is Old North St. Louis. It's tremendous. There's a 2-block storefront space here that they renovated in about 2008. And we've got a beautiful big department store space that used to be Sobel's. And people still come in today and say, I used to buy my school uniforms and my shoes there. And we really welcome that kind of history because now they can see the history that we have to offer too here in letterpress. So it's a little gray, and I thought I could go outside, but I don't think we'll be able to. So I'll just show you around the inside of the space a bit. We do have prints by area printmakers here. You'll see some works also by Firecracker Press. So our mission is all about supporting printers, and we don't do commercial work here for hire. We'll help set people up and educate them to make their own prints. We've actually got a lot of designers who will come in and do suites of thank you cards for the holidays, or even often wedding invitations. So that's a lot of fun. And what I really enjoy too is one partner will be working on the suite and the other will come in to join, and to see that dynamic and the excitement as they do the complete collection together is really gratifying. And none of them had printed before in a lot of cases. Here's our storefront back in the day. So it's been repainted. You can see this is where we are right now. And up above us, there are 2 apartments. So I really do like having neighbors. It kind of keeps me in line and keeps me from staying here too late at night. And next door, I believe they were selling furniture, but our space does go all the way down to that halfway down the block. So we'll tour some of that as we go on today. Whew, let's see.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous space.
Yeah, we really love it. It's all storefront windows, so there's a lot of bright light. And I think most printers are used to being in darker basements. So it's very refreshing to be up here and to be able to interact with the public as they walk by too. That's pretty tremendous. I like to point out how some of our equipment has historic value, especially when I give my tours to the kids. And this sign press came from a pharmacy. So they're like, why would a pharmacy have a sign press? And I say, well, 20 years ago, they didn't have computers, so they couldn't print up the sign as quickly as you. So they would have type and a press in the basement and make their own advertisement signs for aspirin being on sale or any number of things. So then they get to use the press and create something of their own. It's a lot of fun. I wanted to show a little bit about our branding too. There's a bit of a glare here, but our friends at Almanac helped design the logo when we first got started. And we were really thrilled. They went back and looked at some original designs from Central Type Foundry to kind of form the building blocks for our logo. And the thing that I think is the most interesting about this is the relationship that was formed. We really relied on them. They really got to know us, and they continued to support us over the years. So as a nonprofit community space, I really need to encourage those kind of relationships. We would be nowhere without the relationships that we formed with our partners and colleagues.
So true.
Oh, this is
cool
fun
to see
too.
that.
Yeah, this too is another fun relationship. Local printer Dick Niehaus. His name is Kelsian, and we used to travel with this one. I have a smaller one now, so I don't have to haul around something so heavy. But he also found for us an advertisement. This is pre his time, but he did see an advertisement in the paper advertising for this press, and he bought it when he might have even been a teenager. He was quite young. and he was printing in his garage the ham radio club cards. Everyone had to have their own card with their ham radio number on it. So that was how he started in the profession. And he became a salesman and had a lifelong career as a print salesman. Presses. He tells us about the presses as well. It's great. So again, since what we do is nonprofit education primarily, I just wanted to kind of do a walkthrough on how we set up for classes, so you can get an idea of how we interact with the public, because that is our main goal. Right now I have a sign on the door asking people to knock before they come in. And that's so hard, because we're used to just having the door open, kids from the neighborhood come in and participate. Big groups, we can't do that right now. So we're doing individual private sessions as people schedule them with protocols in place for safety. But on a normal day, we might have a whole group of school kids come in. And so we set up all the supplies to make it very easy and accessible. So I just bring out cases of wood type, as many as I can, and get them out on the tabletop surfaces so they can come around with a galley and collect all of the sorts that they want to print. I also am always putting out imagery, because that's a good starting place. People understand, a lot of the students see an image and it will inspire them to find content or words along with it. We even had a poetry series with Sunny Hutton, where she would take an image and print it and have other people write a haiku about some of that image that was printed. So that is a ton of fun and a good way to get started if there's a roadblock, if you've got someone in the classroom or visiting you and they don't quite know where to start. Another key to having large groups is keeping all of your supplies stored safely. You'll see my sharps are at the very top of the pegboard so the youth can't reach them. And all the brayers and all the inks are put away. So when they come in, there's a clean tabletop surface here. I'll have ink out for using on press. We do use oil-based inks, and I do all the cleanup so that they don't have to worry about that when we're all done. But if anything is out here, you can imagine, if there's a brayer on the table, they're in the ink instantly. So I keep it really tidy and keep everything put away until it's time for class. Magnets are our source here at this proof press, because it's immediate, it's quick, it's very easy to manage. And the first thing I stress is we take a tour of the shop and kind of instill some of the value that we have on the equipment and the supplies, so that as participants are working with them, they're careful and they understand the process before they start the work, rather than just sticking them on the press with some ink and a brayer. And for safety, really, we've been in pretty good shape. We've got real small kids. We've got our step stool, so we're ready for any age. And the main thing about this press is you put both hands on the drum to pull, and you do not get any help from anyone. That's the only time we've had a pinch, is when another guest will say, "Oh, I'm gonna hold the paper for you." And then the 2-year-old will pull and pinch a parent's fingertip. So not a big deal, but safety can be ensured just with a little bit of forethought. Tons of paper, lots of good supplies for everybody to use. And just one other safety thing. I found that just blocking paths with equipment is often a great way to keep people out of your space. So by the paper cutter, I've got a good block right here, but we've also got a padlock. So, our guests who know how to use it can have the key and unlock it. But anything with a handle, look out. Someone's gonna want to pick it up and see how it operates, which is great. That kind of inquiry is really what we want. Another pegboard with supplies. I do like to talk about this one. Building those relationships, you never know where they're going to get started. And I was hanging up an exhibit one time and my friend Kate was here and she was laughing because my hammer was just an estate sale find and it was really tiny. And she says, "Come on, I'm going to get you a nicer hammer." And I had no idea what she was talking about. I'm like, "Kate, this hammer's fine. Why are you going to go to the hardware store and buy me a hammer?" And she said, "Well, we have a board meeting and my friend Kate Estwing brought me this delightful hammer after that." So now I have a resource that I didn't know I had.
Isn't that wonderful when those relationships come to be and you go, "Oh, I didn't know I needed this hammer in this relationship, but here it is."
Yeah, it just propped up just like that for me. So I was pretty thrilled. Let's see. I didn't totally mention it, but we do have in that gift shop area a lot of our instructors selling work as well. So another way we can support artists is by hiring them to teach or by selling their goods in our shop. 60-40 split. The teacher gets 60 and we take 40. But it's a good advertisement too for the instructors. So this is really a place to convene. This is the Alpha Beta Club, and it's a large empty room where we can have community meetings, business workshops. Like we get one group of kids, holy cow, we get 50 students in, fifth graders, all at one time. So they start off in this space, spread out, kind of collect themselves, and then we set up 3 separate stations in the studio so that they can all rotate and travel around. So it's pretty great. Nice big space, keeping it clean. It's all, ooh, there's my handle of my broom. You know, it's clean today. But it's really a great way to welcome people and give them a starting point so it's not overwhelming. Also, here's a top view. Our Vandercook down in the other classroom. And we do have a treadle operated C&P. It has some stuff on it, but you can see it over there. So in that space, being as old as it is, it's got a lot of wood flooring, but we put the 2 heavy duty presses here on the concrete. So in the renovation, they did a really great job. It's a big open space, but we've made it accommodable for our needs. Oh yeah, so on my tour, we also talk about the Ludlow, which is operational, but we're not using it. So if anybody wants to come up and help me, that would be great. I'm sure you've all got your own equipment that you're working on, but
This is the place to ask those kinds of things, though.
yeah, right. If you're stopping by St. Louis, I'll see what I can do. And this is another space that we have here. You'll see these big double doors. We can close it up when we have parties and events so that you know, nobody will walk around in an area where they could tip something over on themselves or get into any kind of mischief. But we do open it up during tours, and then also during print week, and our Conference with Ladies space gets a ton of use because all of our professional equipment's over here. So there's a nice Adams proof press that's Firecracker Pressings, and they let us have it here on display. But it's really tremendous to show everyone the Vandercook, and then to come over here and let them know that this is the precursor. This is also a flatbed press, but it's from 18. And automobiles and how early this press is, Civil War era, which is pretty great. And of course, nobody can pass up the inner type. It's a marvel, and that's where we end our tours. Kind of talking about efficiency and how the industry was changed. I do have some images of the printery book arts lab that I'm going to show you in a PowerPoint presentation. I start to lose you all over here. You can see in the back, we've got a couple of windmills. Almost, you can almost see their tops. A perforator back there and a ton of metal type. And can you all still hear me?
Yep, we can still hear you.
Great, great. We're getting a little bit of rain here, so you can hear it on the tin roof. Mostly, I just don't want to lose you all to the Wi-Fi.
The rain is kind of soothing, so it's good.
Oh, good. Yeah, yeah, it's nice. It's nice here for sure. So I brought in a great collection that we have, again, about community, our neighbor, Tom Brekowski. We've been here for a good 4 years, easily, 3 or 4 years, a total of 5. We're coming on 6 now. So we've been here a while, but very well into the lifespan of being here. Tom Brekowski came to me, and we had a good relationship. He was a neighbor. But he said, you know, Marie, I think I remember I have some wood type in the garage. Oh, Tom, well, you got to bring it in. Took him a few months. He wasn't in a big rush, but of course I was. And he came in with some beer boxes full of wood type. And he let me know that there was a Polish print shop just down the street at 13th and Cass, so about 4 blocks south of us. And that building was being torn down in the 80s, and he knew the owners. So he asked him if he could go in and rescue some of the type that was still in the basement. So he went with a team of guys. They got a couple presses out and a handful of wood type. He told me there were about 4 drawers, but when he talks about a drawer, he was actually talking about these big wooden flats. So as I unpacked the boxes, I was so surprised at what I found. It's a William Page number 111, a complete font, all the characters, all the punctuation. We even have the spacing material for this type. So exciting. So we've been cleaning it over the years, and we print with it occasionally, but quite rarely because there is a little bit of warping in some of the pieces. But being a Polish newspaper, I really don't think they use the type. I can't imagine what for. So it's really a great condition. And it just shows how the unexpected can really boost what we do. So for Tom, we had an event where he could talk about the Polish newspaper and the find. And we printed up these posters to commemorate that event. So it was a lot of fun. Everybody got to print their own poster. And those kind of keepsakes are really what bind our community members to the shop. They remember those and appreciate them too. So we really had a fantastic time doing that. I showed you a little bit of the Printery Book Arts Lab from a distance. I'd like to do a PowerPoint now for you, just so that you can see some of what's inside. So I'm going to share my screen. It might take me a minute. Oh, beautiful. I want to start from the beginning. All right, Printery Book Arts Lab. So this is something new that we just installed last year, and we're thrilled about it. K. Michael Kramer is a local printer, and he's no longer printing, but he is still living at home in Kirkwood. Here's a great photo of him down in his basement studio, setting some type. So we've moved his entire print shop here to Central Print with the help of the Mercantile Library at UMSL. They own the collection, and we program around it. So this collaboration is tremendous for us. It connects us to the university and the Mercantile Library, which has tremendous history here in the city. They used to have a space downtown, but they moved just a little bit north to the University of Missouri St. Louis. So we're glad to have their support. And here I'm giving you a little bit of a walking tour of all the equipment that is here in our space. We did receive some money this year to do a book arts residency, and the challenge is we can't really bring somebody in this year, but I do hope to do it in the future next year. I'm going to apply with the same funding agency to see if we can get them to support us again, because we would love to have a 2-week workshop here with someone making use of the space to print their own work. We took everything that we could from the basement. You'll see these great images up on the wall here, as well as a collection of ashtrays. You know, we all keep these things around to throw our sorts in, but there's just so many treasures, and we set it up to the best of our ability to resemble the space that he was working in. Printer's wife and letterpress were some license plates that the two of them drove, Ginny and K. Michael Kramer. So we love having those two, a little bit of ephemera. And you can imagine there's a plethora of ornaments and lockups in all of these spaces. So much fun to look through. And some lockups that we still have, we're not going to disassemble any. I don't know if we'll reprint them, but we're absolutely keeping them intact because they are beautiful. And I do have this book to show you in just a few minutes, but these are the pages locked up on this beautiful brass galley. And then here is a book that was printed with those lockups. And I know all your type cases look like that, right? You can imagine us moving. You know, how many drawers of type? It was so good. So much fun, but we were very careful to keep them in order. And the Vandercook has the original cover. We've got his trash can, we've got his stools, all the equipment. And so we just love it. And a few more examples of K. Michael Kramer's work at the printery. Oh, beautiful. And some ephemera that came to us as well. Some paperwork and promotional materials. We've also got the lid to a box that came with that original shipment. And a few treasures, you know, I haven't even been, we've archived everything, but personally I have not found all the goodies. So many things I want to print with though. Oh, delightful. Okay. So let me see if I can come back to Zoom.
Yep, we see you. Yep,
Great.
You're back.
Okay, my screen still looks funny there.
I've got you spotlighted now.
Beautiful.
Yep. And I'll put those links over in the chat so people can learn more too.
Fantastic. And I did just mention Ladies of Letterpress.
Mm-hmm.
That conference we host every fall, and this year we're going to be going online, so please take a look at the Ladies of Letterpress website, collaboration between Central Print, Firecracker Press, and Ladies of Letterpress. It's our 4th year now, I believe, hosting conference together, and it's such a pleasure. You can imagine the space filled with people printing. And last year, we were so excited to have the ladies from Shift Lab come in, and they were able to use the printery for their workshop. So this charming packet was created using found content from different resources of like research materials, dictionaries, encyclopedias, and so sort of a card catalog reference here. And really, I just appreciate so much how thoughtful this piece is in relationship to the printery and all the printed pieces over the years by K. Michael Kramer. So really a delight to have worked with everyone there and the team who took the class. And we're thrilled to have this piece now in our collection of ephemera with the printery lab. Gorgeous. Okay, I don't think I'll be able to go through them all. Oh, that's a nice one too. Wonderful. I did also want to show you some of the work that we've done at a school that's here in our neighborhood, Jefferson Elementary. I've learned so much about the needs of our community members by participating in the place where they are. Jefferson Elementary is in an area with subsidized housing, and actually a lot of them are going to be renovated soon. So the population there is very transitory, and it's a challenge to engage the same student year by year. So we have to keep the content introductory and somewhat light, but by no means is it any less rich. So these are some fun pop-up designs that the kids would do, and then we would create pop-up books when we weren't printing. So really charming. You can see how the cutout mouths become animated. We would do pressure prints, very accessible. We decided one day we should print some business cards, and we also printed these little charmers. So you could talk about what you can do. Business card, good fun, on a little tabletop, Kelsey. It was great. So much fun working with the youth. And then we would do holiday cards. So, you know, you bring in the supplies and they create their own compositions. They took the best for themselves, of course, but we love these examples to show some of the things that we did. And we would go there early mornings before school started to kind of bring students into the classroom. Getting attendance and without tardies was one of the biggest challenges the school faced, so we were able to help with that. And we still have a strong relationship with them, and we support their activities when students perform well. So once a month they have like a fun dance party, and we'll come in and print something in relationship to the concept of the dance party, and they are a ton of fun. Another program that we did that was really done by the community was Shakespeare Festival of St. Louis had a play right outside our door. So we had an educational program with our friend Palma, and she taught theater, and the students wrote their own play, and we supported them by printing materials to accompany and promote their play. So this is the arch with a big fissure under it. The theme that year was separated in St. Louis. So we helped them set some type. And those are the names of all the students that are in the play. We did a pressure print to get that background. But again, the students cut out all the shapes and forms. And I do think everyone else has the stronger examples of our prints, but you can see we had some pretty good success. And then the Shakespeare Festival went ahead and used the students' work. So the play was right outside our door. The board of directors met here before the play started. And the actors in this production, the youth, were able to meet the board of directors and then let them know that they had created the artwork for the poster. So it came full circle in a wonderful celebration, and everyone saw the results of this community-driven work. So that's something that we're very proud of. Another residency experience we had was with Karen Zimmerman, and I only have a few of her pieces, but she printed some background cards and invited the neighbors to come in with their own original writing and apply those to the surface of these. They were also cut up into postcards then so that they could send them along. And one of the young ladies in the neighborhood had walked the neighborhood and decided that flowers smell fresh. So really a nice And here are a few of the pieces from the printery that I would want to show you. Again, I'm mostly trying not to move the camera too much, so I can hold these up. But just some really lovely holiday cards, if you can imagine receiving this holiday card in the mail. With all the detail. I believe those are hand colored. Good heavens, right? And some fine press publications, a book on William Morris. Just excellent detail. Beautiful ornamentation. And some inserted imagery. And some real tiny treasures too. That makes it very accessible, I have to say, when people see the variety with which you can take advantage of the book arts. Oh, lovely. And then in keeping with the book arts, one of our friends in the neighborhood, Sunny Hutton, would lead our poetry workshops, and trying to keep that relationship active and supporting her in her role as a community activist. She's not published this yet, so it's not available for consumption, but what she's working on now is tenant rights. So she's letting everyone know what their rights are in the neighborhood for housing. And she's going to wheat paste those around the neighborhood. But this is still top secret, so don't share with anybody that would be in that community. But we're really excited to support her in that. And again, she will do all the work in printing, and we are just an agency that helps lift her up in any way that we can to make that possible. Other questions? I think I'm at 30 minutes.
You did, that was great. We had a question or two, and I think we can also open it up, or if you have more tour, let me know.
Sure.
This might be a really good one to open to the whole group. I'm going to cancel the spotlight so you can see everybody's faces, especially maybe someone like Greg Walters. Greg, Jim and I know you're getting called out, or maybe you know more about it, Marie. The 111, the type you were showing from the Polish printer, does anyone know of a name, maybe more specifically for that type style?
I think P22 digitized it as Super Smoke, but that's all that I've heard.
Okay.
I don't know of a name.
Bulletin? Okay.
I think I've heard it called Smoke.
Yeah, me too. I think Tom Virgin was asking, so hopefully that helps you out, Tom. There's a couple names for you. Jim Moran was saying that Rob Roy Kelly also calls it 111, probably going back to that same specimens. Yeah. Sweet. I didn't see a whole lot of questions. I think we were enjoying the tour.
Oh, good. No, that's what it's all about. I'm going to show you a few fonts that we've gotten recently too. A local printer, Kenneth Klaus, passed away, and his children left us his metal type collection, which was out in a storage unit. 14 cabinets of metal type that's very practical and functional. A lot of useful fonts. But in addition, Dick Niehaus had to let me know what this was all about. He had a lot of headline fonts. Because they're very small, I didn't understand why you would have these, but then it made sense in advertisements and kind of getting highlighted bits. So in addition to those cabinets of very practical type, we got two of these beautiful cabinets that are jam-packed with different metal faces. Maxine, that's pretty good one. I'll pull one out. So I realize these are more like drawers that would have been used for the linotype, but he's using them to store all the metal type. So there are some real treasures here too. Things that I've never seen, and a few European fonts that we've been able to find, but we still need to do some proofing and get deeper into these as well. What I found that the wood type is very accessible for first-time visitors, and since it's bold and large, it yields pretty amazing results. But getting students engaged longer term to really spend time with the metal has proven more challenging. So that's some of what we're seeking with the residency too, is to really get people involved in that way. I have another cabinet right over there. but I don't think my card will reach. But there's some goodies here too.
I know we always love to see the behind the scenes, the places we're
Right.
not allowed to open when we come visit anyway.
Well, I'll let you all open it. Yeah, they're goodies. Let's see. I'll bring something over. I don't know, 48-point PT Barnum, but we have a number of different sizes, which is pretty great. So those are a lot of fun. But it's funny because they seem like a very small sort until I think about making an advertisement or a headline, but that's all that I would need.
Yes. And it's always nice to have a run, right? If you've got some different sizes.
Right, right.
We've got some really good questions more about Central Print and the area you're in.
Oh, please.
Well, while you're there, Ray and Jill from Lead Graffiti ask, what's the image to the left that we can see behind your probably right shoulder?
Yes, that's a painting. So, and that's another neighbor story. My neighbor Doug is a teacher at a local arts school, and he created that. It's a picture of our CMP, and it's an incentive for a volunteer. So you put out a competition, and we haven't received that volunteer yet, but as soon as we do, when they put in a certain number of hours, they're rewarded with a painting of the space that they did the volunteer work in. So he's doing that all around town, and we're thrilled to be a part of it. I'll bring it close.
That's a stunning project.
Yeah. Yeah, so again, where collaboration comes from, often unexpected. So it's really lovely. Getting some glare.
It's stunning.
Yeah, and he had mentioned recently that he was talking with his students about coming to see us, and they're like, we see them everywhere. I'm like, what are you talking about, Doug? And he goes, they've all seen you already, because we've been at the art museum and the history museum and the book festival and anything that's outdoors and celebratory. We try to put ourselves there so that we can meet people, expand our audiences. If I get an invitation, I accept it. And I think that's a really good way to proceed, just to keep us visible in the space and to form new collaborations and partnerships.
Well, and that's a good question. Jessica's asking, are there other staff members at Central Print, or are they all volunteers?
I do have 2 part-time staff members. That way I can have Sonia here every Saturday. And because she's on the clock, I know that she'll make that time for us. And Kirsten does help us with advertising and program management. And she's working from home right now, but she is still able to work part-time for us.
Yeah, it's important to have those other people and make it happen.
Yeah, and we do have some fantastic volunteers when we have large events and we really need to fill the space with people who know how to talk about what we do and the equipment. And Mary is one of those people. She came to us through a collaboration with Perennial, which is a craft-based reuse program. And we had a combined workshop, and she really took to it. And for 4 years now, she's been coming in to print her own work, but she also volunteers with us whenever we need someone. She's happy to get on press and help participants and visitors utilize the equipment and make a keepsake print to take home. And she really knows her stuff.
So yeah, that's a good question. Is it mostly event-based then, not like weekly or?
Yeah, it's a lot of first-time visitors. So as the colleges have a new group of typography students, they'll come in for a workshop. They may repeat the next year, but it's a new group of students typically. And occasionally we'll have someone who's had 1 or 2 experiences with us before and join us again. And it's still fresh enough to keep them engaged. Often 1 or 2 of those individuals over the course of the year will then inquire about an internship. So then we can really dig in deep and bring them in for a richer experience. And they can support us in so many ways by printing promotional flyers that they can then have in their portfolio. So it's a really great way to build new relationships. But events that we do outdoors and in the community, absolutely. A lot of repeat customers, open studio. We do have a lot of takers, but they're very focused and driven, and it's according to their schedule. And then our classes and workshops are small intentionally, so we can have up to 5 people and really get an intimate experience, maybe for a stationary workshop.
Nice. Yeah, you, I feel like I've seen it before. You had like a bingo, a print and bingo.
Yeah.
Can you tell me more about it? I see it on Instagram and go, what is that? I want to do that.
It's really fun. So here's the foolishness, and you can tell that I'm not a printer. I decided I would print my own bingo cards. because why not, right? So Dick Niehaus printed the grid for me, and then I put the card on press with the numbers for the columns. And we call it lingo, by the way. Missouri, up until just last year, bingo was illegal unless you had a license. So we called it print lingo. And we were just under the radar with that program. So I was setting up the numbers in the grid, and I'm like, but I have to change them for the next card, because I can't have two identical cards, or two people will shout out lingo. So with each print, I would jostle the numbers according to my chart in order to not repeat the same configuration. And I have about 150 cards now, and I don't want to have to print them again. So it limits the size of the event a little bit.
Yes. And you're like, no spilling on those cards. Be very nice to those lingo cards.
Yeah, so I do not recommend printing your own bingo cards unless it's in a much larger quantity. But what was fun is I was able to throw special characters in. So we got a bunch of ornaments, and that kind of livens up the game too. So it's really fun. It's a fundraiser for us. And we host it. People buy a ticket, and then they can win posters as prizes. So it supports the community as well, our community of printers.
And I think we've said it, but it's good for everybody to know you guys are a nonprofit. And that's important to, you know.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and I've been thinking about that just lately, especially. We try to balance our revenue from earned grants and individual donations. And thankfully, that's a strength right now. As earned revenue is way down, we can rely a little bit more on our individual and grants, things that we receive like that. So it really does make a big difference. And something too to think about is everything in this shop is owned by everyone. So there's no ownership here. It's a nonprofit public entity. So all this stuff is yours to use. Come in and we'll facilitate.
That's beautiful. And we fully understand many of those things at Hamilton as well. We are also a nonprofit. And Marnie was asking, she's amazed that you single-handedly manage that space, right? It's a lot to do. So how do you sustain yourself in the space and the programming? If you aren't a printer, what brought you to this specifically?
I took a class at the Firecracker Press, and that was inspiration enough. I had known Eric for a number of years. We shared studio space downtown, and the first day he was there, I hadn't seen him move in, and he's operating a clamshell press in the middle of his studio. And I'm like, what is that? So we quickly bonded because I was I found so appealing the history and the mechanical nature, because I'm a weaver, so looms kind of are quite similar in a lot of ways. With the individual yarns, you have the individual letters. They're very loose and random until you put the structure of the press around them. So I see a lot of similarities in process, but that really appealed. And it took me a number of years to take the class with Eric, but when I did, I was smitten because I could pull the type out of the case. And I imagined 50 years ago, someone else was printing entirely different content. But here I am using it today for something that's very relevant in my life. And I'm sure that the person in the past had done the same. So for me, it's the history, it's the process. It's making sure that we don't lose this technology, because things are changing quickly, and instilling that appreciation with the next generation. It's happening, and we need to make sure it keeps up. Yeah.
That was lovely. I feel the same way when I get to use old type and machines. You do wonder, like, what did this say before me? You know, what messages were told? Yeah. In fact, actually, somebody was asking very specifically about the community you're in. Like, can you talk more about that?
Yes, let's see. I recently took a leadership program. This was also through the University of Missouri, St. Louis. And I'm so glad that I did, because it made me think about my relationship to my neighborhood. And I grew up in a suburb here in St. Louis, and it was in the 70s. So at the time, desegregation was a thing. And I remember meeting people coming to the city, from the city to the county to attend schools with me. And the differences were stark. This is getting a little bit personal, but one of my friends in 6th grade, he saw that I had some gum, and he said, can you buy me some gum? And I said, well, just have some of this gum. He goes, yeah, but could you buy me a pack the next time you go to the store? And I'm saying, well, why don't you go to the store where you live and buy a pack of gum? And he says, there isn't a store in my neighborhood. So from that very early time, I knew that there were some stark differences, but there's also the Del Mar Divide here, which is a street that has demarcated how property values were deflated intentionally through redlining north of Del Mar. And you go 1 block south of Del Mar and the property values are double, if not triple. So very intentionally in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, properties were deflated to the benefit of a lot of investors who were moving people further out and then buying the properties behind. And things are just catching up now. We're being very conscientious about gentrification, especially here. There are mixed income properties to ensure that the people who live here now, ideally, are not pushed out to other neighborhoods as this area is developed. So it is very conscious. We have a lot of community groups and intentionality in all the decisions we make here in the neighborhood. It's actually pretty sparsely populated right here. We're very close to the riverfront, so it's quite industrial on the other side of the highway. And to the west is a very, like an 8-lane thoroughfare. So the kids from the neighborhood across don't really come over on foot, but then we do get them to come in with their school groups and buses. So individuals or very local neighbors who come in to participate, or we bring in students as groups and schools. And St. Louis has always been a little bit segregated, and breaking down those divides is something that we focus on too, getting individuals to come in from different groups to commingle. And those challenges will always be with us, but our neighborhood is very supportive of all those efforts.
Marie?
Yes.
This ties in, I was going to ask this question and you helped cover some of it. One of my favorite memories, anytime I've been to St. Louis for Ladies of Letterpress or workshops, is the neighborhood kids come in and you just show them such creative, interesting things. And is that changing or is that limited because of the virus? Or?
Yes, the kids are staying at home, so we do miss them so much. And internet accessibility is a challenge too. They may not have access to the technology for us to have a Zoom conversation like this. So I'll see them occasionally, but not in a programmatic way. I'll see them casually in the neighborhood, but they're not coming in to participate just yet. We're hoping as the academic year comes back together, maybe their teachers can facilitate us doing technology with the students. That would be my dream, so that I can still see their charming faces. They're growing up so fast.
Yeah, it must be amazing to see them grow and like watch like how they learn and change.
Something else I've witnessed early on is I'm thrilled that they start drawing letter forms, but they start drawing them backwards. Oh no! This is something we should talk about a little more in depth. So they get it. It took a while, but I was wondering if I was slowing them down in their ability to read. But not at all. They can just read upside down and backwards. Good.
Yeah, you're making them stronger.
Exactly.
That's amazing. Well, and even when you talked earlier about like having a thing where they were having issues with tardiness at the school, and then you worked together to figure out a way to help. I really love that answer of a program. I thought that's beautiful.
And a lot of the students' parents will come in and say that they took in high school printmaking classes. So there's a generation that's just about over age, but there are still printers out there in a very tangible way, supporting the kids too.
Yeah. I know to be honest, I was always told I could draw and paint, but no one told me about printmaking when I was young. So the idea that you know about more forms of art and expression at a younger age is amazing, even if it's backwards type, especially if it's backwards type.
Right. A little bit more on the neighborhood. The history of it is tremendous. Our building is 1865-ish, so quite old. The Compton Drew maps were drawn of the cities from overhead, and our building is in that compilation of maps. So we know that the building is old too. And there's a lot of preservation happening in the neighborhood. It's a challenge to keep these buildings up, but a lot of people are even rebuilding. And going back to the Polish newspaper, we don't want those treasures to be lost, but that building was demolished and there's a church's chicken restaurant standing in its footprint now. And I'm sure the building was lost with good reason, but it's always a shame to see those things occur. But it's a progress too, so balance. And Crown Candy is a really great resource for us too, if you ever come and visit. It's a soda shop that's been open since I think 1902, and it's right up the street from us. It's changed hands a few times, but the family that's there now has been there for a number of years. And the other direction down the street is a hardware store, and it's probably the oldest continuing operation hardware store in the US. They still have the bins of bolts if you just need a couple of bolts. They'll open up the drawer and see if they've got them.
That's always good to have. And I have been to Crown Candy. It was delightful. I went there when I was there for Ladies of Letterpress last year. It was really nice. Yeah, it was a good visit. The chocolate malt, I think, It's one of the things I had. So.
Oh, yeah.
So are there any more questions? I think I hit all the ones that I saw in the chat, but if you feel like unmuting, it's a great time to ask Marie a question or two.
Is anyone using the Liberty Press, Marie?
Oh, no, I'm still restoring it. It's apart, and we've got to get it back together. So no, nobody's using the Liberty at the moment. I would like to get her back up. If you're welcome to come by for a visit and help me shine it up anytime.
I'm gonna miss coming this year.
Yeah, I know. I miss it too. It really is a lot of fun having everybody here. And the support is tremendous for me too. I always talk about that, how having a whole group of printers, y'all leave the shop better than when you got here every time. And I just love it.
I know, lady. Oh, go ahead.
I wonder if with so much space, do you ever say no to a printing press? I mean, you know, it almost seems endless, but certainly there's no endless space.
I don't say no. So we do the best that we can to fit it in. Yeah. Someday, I don't know. I keep saying yes so far. We're also responsible. You know, I try not to duplicate things, and I do want to make sure that they get used. I do have another Nolan right now that needs to be shined up so that we can get it in use, because the proof presses are really great with the youth. The more presses we have, the faster they can work. So I will get that one back over here. But most of our presses are operational and used for different programs throughout the year. Like the windmills, I'm not going to put the kids back there, but during Ladies of Letterpress, they get tremendous use.
Yeah, with Ladies of Letterpress, were there any highlights or things that you like? One of the things I loved was it's warm. Like everybody hopped around and you could learn from so many people in such a short amount of time. But yeah, any highlights from Ladies Letterpress?
Yeah, I think what I like is the ability to eavesdrop on other classes a little bit. It's tight. We have up to 5 or 6 classes operating at the same time, and everyone's very considerate, and we can work in the same space together at opposite ends. But then you can also peek over someone's shoulder, see what they're working on, and really engage with them in that way. So it's those relationships that are built and learning new things, of course, I think that are my highlights. Yeah.
Anybody on the call? I know many of you have attended the Ladies of Letterpress conference. What did you can chat or you can unmute. What did you love about being able to be a part of that conference? Other than the chocolate malts.
Right?
I'll chime in.
Yeah.
I was there last year and I taught 2 different workshops. So it was 2 days. We did a printing day and then a bookbinding day with our printed sheets. And just the amount of different things that was going on. I think people were making bone folders, people were printing on the windmills, people were doing marbling. There was just a really wide range of what everybody was doing. So it wasn't just printing. There was so much other stuff going on too. But then just getting to reconnect with everybody was great. And I miss it.
Yeah, we went to the City Museum. What's the museum where you can...
Yeah.
That was amazing. Is that what it's called, the City Museum?
That's right. Yeah, they're collectors as well. Like, we love our history and so do they. So they'll have a lot of architectural remnants of the city. They store them and make displays so that they can be exhibited. And then they also build quirky slides and explorable landscapes within that building. So yeah, that is really fun. And it does talk about that history of St. Louis that none of us want to lose. Yeah.
The slides is definitely what I remember, but and if you don't know, so at night you can go as an adult and just run around, and it's like an adult playground. I mean, it's slides and climbing, and anyway, I love you guys, but that was a bonus. Like, that was a St. Louis bonus.
Yeah, there's a lot of assets here. If you can extend a trip the next time you come, I recommend it. We've got a great art museum. There's a lot of stuff downtown. The Wainwright building is pretty incredible for architecture. And of course the arch. I mean, we all sort of dismiss it, but it's a really mid-century marvel. So yeah. I love seeing that. Another friend of mine, she's just posted, when the river's low, she can go down and collect things out of the river. So she's a I don't know what they call that, but she's a collector on the banks of the river, and she keeps finding type. So I'm telling her to bring it in, because all those type foundries were here in St. Louis, right on the riverfront. So much fun.
Those are called mudlarks, Marie.
Mudlarks, thank you.
And there's a new book out about someone who mudlarks in London and the Thames. Since I'm a bookstore person, I thought I had to shove that out there.
Yeah.
I did have a question, Marie, if you could talk a little bit about what the Zoom stationery project is going to be this month.
Yeah, we're having a ton of fun. Since y'all, it's hard to print at home, so what we're doing is we're pre-printing on watercolor paper greeting cards that you can then hand watercolor at home. And we're looking at doing cats and dogs, so it should be a really good one. Kirsten's working on those designs now, and that's August 27th. And then what I do is I mail a kit ahead of time so that you can participate on Zoom with us. And it's a watercolor session, so we do talk about techniques of color and watercolor and how you can interact with the imagery that's pre-printed on your cards. It's really fun.
So Bad Larry's looking forward to it, and he might be able to get his niece, who teaches at Columbia in Chicago. She's a paper maker. We're trying to get her, but she's also trying to get married in this craziness. So I don't know if she'll be able to make it, but we're trying to get one more relative.
I think Bad Larry can add a paw print, a little bit of dip in the watercolor. Should be good.
Oh, he's busy throwing up on the floor with hairballs. So we'll discourage his direct participation.
Okay.
I liked following all the context clues of that conversation. I love that you're doing programming through all of this because it is tough. It's a really tough thing to do.
But it is rewarding, and everyone is stepping up because everyone wants to participate in some way with other humans, for sure. Yeah.
Yes. Well, that's how this got started, right? It was we're like, we want to see people. Now I get to see my letterpress friends all year round instead of just maybe once or twice a year, which is nice.
Mm-hmm. True.
I do have one more question. Lori was asking, when you have school groups, do you charge a flat rate or per student?
College. So yeah, the college students, some schools don't have the budget. So for the community colleges in town, we charge $15 per student, and the students pay their own fee. So of course you have 10 people, and it makes it worth our 2.5 hours to set up and have a workshop. And younger kids, we actually charge a little more because they require more teachers to attend to them and keep track. So we do a comparable price to that, but we do charge a flat rate for those school groups that are coming in because attendance varies pretty dramatically from day to day too with field trips. So we do it both ways. Yeah.
Yeah, we've had to find that as well, that we have to get that balance.
I've also found it's hard for people in the neighborhood often to commit to a scheduled class that meets every Thursday night. So we're much better to have open studio time. You know, if you come in and you want to print, you can. That's much more easy to do. So we're doing 4th Fridays now, but not right now. But that's something new that we started up for $15 on the 4th Friday. We're open, and you can come in and print anything you want. So that's great.
A quick, easy question. You're one of the few places I know having other people in. Is there any guidelines from anyone who knows how to clean type so it's safer? I mean, are you misting it with bleach, or people ask me like I'm supposed to know, and I know new. Yeah. I don't know how to take care of old.
So the participation level is so low that people have a lot of time between participating, but I do have all of my cleaning supplies here. When anyone arrives, we do have them fill out a checklist to make sure they're feeling healthy. I let them know my cleaning policies, and they need to know how to clean up at the end. I also ask that they leave everything that they've used out on a specific table that they've been working on. And I've been spraying it and just leaving the spray on the surface. I think that's the best recommendation. Of course, we have masks, gloves, and wipes. One person at a time or a family unit, and masks are required. So that policy, I'm comfortable with it now, and I'm very cautious, and no one has to participate if they don't want to. No questions asked if you cancel, we can reschedule. Same with interns. We're as careful, I think, as we can be, and our space is 8,000 square feet, so we can absolutely keep our distance.
Nice. And in fact, I think our last question will be, how do you advertise your workshops?
Oh gosh, Instagram, Facebook, newsletter that we put out, oh gosh, probably bi-monthly. I wish I could say I put it out monthly. And occasionally we get on the radio programs, so I need to get on some of those some more. And I do reach out directly to past participants. That's the strongest way that I can reach out to our audiences, is people that have been here. And by participating in big public events, which we're not doing right now, but I would have flyers at the Book Arts Festival that's coming up this fall and make sure that people know about our programs there. So a lot of flyering too, which is so much fun.
Yes. Making new friends is a good way to get workshop participants, right? They want to be there more.
It's true. And even better if they bring a friend.
Yes, exactly. Well, I appreciate that you showed us around today, Mary. It was Marie. Sorry, it was great. Thank you for the tour. Thank you for talking about all your programs and everything that you do there, because that was really insightful.
Yeah, I really had a wonderful time, and I'm so glad to have people in the studio. Thank you all for coming by.
Say thank you so much. I'm glad I felt like I could be in St. Louis for a bit, like we could all be there with you, even though we can't. So remember to sign up for Ladies of Letterpress if you want to feel like you're in St. Louis later this year. And then I'm gonna do a couple of, I'm so glad you guys are here. If you want to help support programming like this to continue, we ask that you please become a member. That helps make this possible. Just like you were talking about how all the funding comes in, it's many different ways, and that's one way to help. So thank you to everyone here who is a member. We really appreciate your support. Also, like I said at the beginning, we do have more Hamilton Hangs coming up. I technically am on vacation this week, so after this I might go walk on the beach some more. But early next week, I'm going to get more scheduled Hamilton Hangs coming up. And the next one is next Friday with Mary Bruno. We had a Mary, a Marie, and then a Mary, just to keep everybody on their toes for the last two, and then the next one. So with and she's going to be here, and she's going to talk about some of her processes, show us around. And then finally, please sign up for the Hamilton Ways Goose. Registration is open now, and we've got a great schedule coming up. So I'm going to put links to all that over in the right-hand side in the chat. So we would love for you to join us. We're working hard to make sure that's a great online conference, because if you haven't heard, Ways Goose this year, we're partnering with AFA, American Printing History Association, to have an online Ways Goose, because we love puns. Yeah. And you can find registration information on our website. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. Hope you have a lovely weekend, and we will see you soon. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Stephanie. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ray.